You are making the world a better place by listening to the Joy of Living podcast. This is your guide to achieving a more purposeful, powerful, and positive life. Join Barry Shore of you in becoming happier, healthier, and wealthier. And now, here's your ambassador of joy, Barry Shore.
Good day, beautiful, bountiful, beloved, immortal beings, and good-looking people. Remember, you're good-looking because you're always looking for and finding the good, and you found good in abundance because you tuned in consciously and conscientiously to the joy of living with your host, Barry Shore, the ambassador of joy. Notice I didn't say the ambassador of joy. The ambassador of joy, and you tuned into this show for one reason and one reason only. Best reason in the whole world, because you care the most, the entire world, about you. Y-O-U. That's right, because that's good, because when you become the best you make the world a better place. You build more bridges of harmony, create more joy, happiness, peace, and love in the world. And you tuned in because you know that on this show, we discuss the three fundamentals of life. And when you utilize, internalize, and leverage these three fundamentals of life, you become happier, healthier, and wealthier. Who doesn't want that? Now, of course, the three fundamentals of life are, number one, life, your life has purpose. And when you lead a purpose-driven life, number two happens. In this case, good number two, you go mad. Now, MAD is a wonderful acronym. It stands for make a difference. Lead a purpose-driven life, you make a difference in the world. And the third fundamental is to unlock the power and the secrets of everyday words and terms. Simple example, the show is carried over the internet. Ask anybody, what does www stand for? Invariably, they'll tell you it has to do with the internet. Now, factually speaking, they're correct. However, in our world, the world of the positive, purposeful, powerful, and pleasant, www stands for what a wonderful world. And what is a word, isn't it? W-H-A-T-A. And of course, a big tip of the hat and a thank you to Louis Armstrong Satchmo for enabling that song, What a Wonderful World, to go viral. Not just touch tens of millions or hundreds of millions, but billions of people on the planet. And what do you do whenever you hear the opening bars of What a Wonderful World? You smile. You can't help it. Now, smile is one of the most important words you can internalize, utilize, and leverage, because smile stands for seeing miracles in life every day. That's right, seeing miracles in life every day. Now, I'm going to tell you a quick story. It's about me. Imagine, if you can, I'm standing up in the morning, completely healthy and hearty, able to leap tall buildings in a single bound. And that evening, I'm in the hospital, totally, completely paralyzed from my neck down. And it was not from an automobile accident. It wasn't a spinal injury. It was a rare disease, took over my body and rendered me what's called quadriplegic. Healthy in the morning, paralyzed in the evening. I can only communicate by blinking my eyes. I was 144 days in the hospital. I was in a hospital bed in my home for 2 years. I couldn't turn over. I was in a wheelchair for 4 years. I had braces on both my legs, my hips, my ankles for years. Thank God, that was progress. Thank God today, I'm able to be vertical and ambulatory with the help of a 7-foot walking wand, so I'm a triped, not a biped. Can't walk up a stair by myself. I can't walk up a curb by myself. I have help 12 hours a day, 7 days a week, but hear my voice. Positive, purposeful, powerful, and pleasant. All because of this one word. Smile. Seeing miracles in life every day. Now, I got to tell you, I am privileged to speak to millions of people around the world every month. This podcast, my other podcast, I in Las Vegas, we touch 500 plus thousand people every single week, sometimes a million, and 4 times a month. I also speak right here locally. I live in Henderson, Nevada, right outside of Las Vegas. Recently, I spoke to a group of 1,127 people, and I'm telling you the story about Barry Shore. I'm talking about seeing miracles in life every day. And some people raise their hand and say, hey, Barry Shore, I've been up for hours. I haven't seen any miracles. And I asked them, are you here? Can you hear? Can you stand still? I can't do that. Can you walk? I can barely do that. Do you have water, drink, your food, place to sleep, your family, your friends? Every single one of those is a miracle. And what's the proof? Simple proof. 1 million people didn't get out of bed this morning. You know why? They died. By definition, if you're watching or listening, you didn't. Therefore, you have an obligation to live life to the full, to live life exuberantly. I got to tell you a quick story. My 8-year-old niece comes over to me a few weeks ago. And she says, Uncle Barry, can we spell smile S-M-I-E-L? I thought about it. Smile sounds the same. Why not? After how come? She says, because then it would stand for seeing miracles in everyday life. Out of the mouth of an 8-year-old. But what was she doing? She was creating the kind of world that she wants to live in. Now, CREATE is a fabulous acronym. It stands for causing rethinking. You're going to learn a lot about that today from amazing Claudia. Causing rethinking, enabling all to excel. What we call a shift in perspective. Now, I got to tell you, I've been working with people for more than 4.5 decades. And when they come to me on paper, they look great, except for one thing. Most of the time, they drop the F in shift, and the other stuff happens. You got to be effing careful with your F. You want to keep that F in place. Shift your perspectives a little bit. Then you can internalize, utilize, and leverage the 6 most important words you'll learn. And these are choice, not chance, determines your destiny. How you choose to respond in any given situation will determine your path and your trajectory. You're going to learn a lot about that from amazing Claudia. Now, before we bring on Claudia, I just want to warn everybody, because thank you so much. Thank you. You're always inviting your friends and your family. Right now, I say we'll have over 520,000 people when Claudia comes on. And by the end of this year, we should have close to 1 million people. And we urge you to share the podcast with 5 people. You want to share with 50 or 100, it's up to you, but at least 5. And we would touch millions of people with every episode. So I want you to understand, I use a lot of 4-letter words. And I even use the 4-letter FU word. I do it because of the shock value when it's fun. Now, of course, the 4-letter words that we use, because we live in the world of the positive, purposeful, powerful, pleasant, are love, life, hope, play, free, give, swim. And the 4-letter FU word is fun. Fun, that's right. F-U, capital N, capital N. So after the show, you see a family friend, twinkling eyes, smiling face, point your finger and say, F you, everybody. But remember to add right away, capital N, capital N. Where'd you get that? I listened to Barry Shore. He had on Claudia. Wait till you listen. You got their attention. Now you can share with them the insights. Now, before we bring on amazing Claudia, I just want to urge everybody to use the 2 most powerful words in the English language 3 times a day from now and the rest of your life. You'll be happier, healthier, and wealthier. And these are thank you, thank you, thank you. Thanks stands for to harmonize and nurture kindness. Kind stands for keep, inspiring, noble deeds. I can't think of anybody that inspires noble deeds more than amazing, wonderful Claudia Christian. Claudia, please call out of 521,917 people around.
Hello, everybody. What a pleasure to be here. Thank you, Barry. Thank you for having me. It's just, you're a breath of fresh air.
Wow, open the windows wide. Okay, so everybody, I want to urge everybody right now, don't take any notes. Just experience Claudia and what we're going to learn today and what we're going to experience. And everything will be in the show notes. So just have it with you. Be here now so you can experience this amazing being. Now, if I started telling you all the things that Claudia has accomplished in her CV, it would take the rest of the show. I'm going to use, there's 3 data points. Number 1, she has been in the world of acting professionally for more than 4 decades. That's a long time. That's number 1. Number 2, she's one of the most recognizable faces and voices on television and film and in video games, et cetera, et cetera. And number 3, she has beaten the monster. And she's going to share with us who the monster is. It was not a cookie monster. And how she came to beat it and how she became almost a spokesperson for the ability for others to do the same. So with that as an introduction, let's just jump right in. Wonderful, fabulous Claudia. We're so happy that you're here with us today. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Let's begin with, something. Let's talk about your acting career, because it does span 40 years. And by the way, most of the people listening, 88% of them are under the age of 35. So,
more than your entire life, kids.
Yeah, well, but they know you because they know when they hear your voice and things that you've been in, very au courant. Here's what I would like you to also tell people about. I mean, you have lived a life, not what we would call your normal life. as you mentioned to me, you've had things happen to you at a very tender age of 8, and then other things happen. So let's dive into that stuff, just because it sets a good stage for people to understand, woe is me. Well, wait a minute. Claudia's been through that.
Okay, kids. Well, let's unpack this. I was born in California, raised in Connecticut, and I caught the acting bug very, very young. I did my first play, and it was the first time I actually saw people smiling and crying and moving, adults. And I felt this connection to the audience. And I felt, for a shy child, I felt suddenly heard, seen. And it was a beautiful feeling. So I became very, very much in love with acting. And I stayed in musical theater, and then suddenly my father got transferred to California when I was 14 years old. And I honestly thought at that point that it was so that I could be on TV. I just thought, God heard me. He heard my prayers, and we're going to California. The problem was, we were going to Orange County, which was about an hour away from Hollywood, in a car, which I couldn't drive. So make a long story short, I did high school in 2 years. I got a drama scholarship, which I didn't use. Instead, I got my driver's license. I graduated at 16, and I headed to Hollywood. And I found a manager. I lived on my own with a makeup artist. I had a roommate, and I went to acting classes, and I tried to meet people. And the manager was wonderful. She introduced me to people around town. And by the time I turned 18, because I looked so mature and my voice was so deep, I had to wait till I was 18. Second I turned 18, I was on Dallas. And from that was 1983. And then I got a series a few months later. Behringer's was my first of 6 series regular roles. And I just kept working and working. And my 20s and 30s were fantastic, except, yes, as you mentioned, we had a really horrible thing happen. My brother was killed when I was 8 years old. He was 14. And that was...
I think there was a plane going by or something.
Yeah,
no,
sorry.
That was a moment that your brother was saying, hello, I'm still here.
Hello. Hi, Patrick.
Okay.
That was a critical moment for our family, because we in 1973, there wasn't a, we weren't really, I'm sure my parents weren't very much into therapy or anything. So none of us received help, or it was just sort of brushed aside. And it destroyed my parents' marriage and our family unit completely. And so this destruction of this family occurred because nobody spoke, nobody communicated. And I think that was the first time I realized in my life that communication was key, but I didn't employ it yet. And the second time was when we did move to Orange County. There was a pedophile neighbor that was raping me on a regular basis. And I lost my virginity. And some of it was quite violent. And I didn't communicate to my parents because I thought I would be blamed. That's the little girl just thinking, because I was starting to become attractive. And I thought, oh, it must be my fault because I started wearing makeup. I mean, all these things that you're just a child and you don't understand, and it's wrong, but you also know that your parents are fighting and they're both unhappy. And do you want to really bring this up? And how do you bring it up? So all I did is lock myself away. And then finally we moved away from him. And eventually I did tell my parents at 16 before I moved out. And it was, once again, communication. There was so much anger in me. Like, why didn't they protect me? Why didn't somebody do something to that bad man? And at that point, I did not want to press charges because I wanted to get on with my life. And I regret that, because I wonder if he ever abused somebody else. But I needed to be in court, and reliving it. And that was my choice, my autonomy to get my own autonomy back, my own personal freedom back. So that was quite dramatic way to start. And then, of course, all of the casting couches that I was running away from in Hollywood, and much older men. I think my first boyfriend was 30 when, it was quite a thing to jump into. And luckily I was very mature. I grew up very quickly. and I could handle it. But I was working full time by the time I was 18 years old, supporting myself from 16 on. And
Okay.
yeah,
Let's
so
do a
that's
little bit of a pause. Let's do a pause and unpack a few things, because wow, talk about a tsunami of.
Well, you said to get into it, Barry. I don't.
It's wonderful, because people around the world, everybody understands to some extent that there is no such thing as a charmed life. Yeah, some people, of course, have fewer dramatic and traumatic experiences. However, I wanted you, Claudia, to bring it out, not to emphasize it, however, to share with people, because we have people around the world who are living in non-democratic countries, in really oppressive societies, and everybody's thinking the other place is better. What has to come out, I think, from your maturity is that you began to understand it's about me being able to communicate and taking control of my life, not in a throttling way, however, in a way that allowed you to channel your talents and grow. Is that fair to say?
I do agree with what you're saying. I think the act of understanding others' actions is what leads to full recovery and to your ability to heal. And that also includes forgiveness. I don't like that whole, oh, you have to forgive X, Y, Z. I do believe you have to understand them. You have to put yourself in those people's shoes and say, what possessed them to do that thing that hurt me? What were they going through? And once you see that big picture, you start to unravel the threads of your life, and you start to say, so I wasn't necessarily a bad person. They were just angry at something else. Or, when you're a child, if your parent yells at you, you immediately think that you're bad. Or if you're denied something, that you don't deserve it because you don't understand that they just had a crummy day at work. All of this is communication, and it's very difficult for some people to communicate because they've never been taught and they've never taken the time. That's why marriages fail.
That probably 98.7% of the population of the world fails to communicate what they really want. They really would like to. By the way, I want to ask you, and please take this the right way, because my naivete is going to come out. They really were casting couches.
Oh, yeah. Well, I mean, there were certainly people who played the game in a different way that I did. I mean, I had a lot of sort of young pride, and I had my dignity. So when I would go into a situation and a man would answer the door in a robe, which did happen to me for casting a film with his nether regions hanging out, I just picked up my stuff and said, why don't I come back when you're dressed? And I think a lot of girls would have just taken the hint and slept with the guy, and those women, a lot of those women have a much better career than I do.
Well,
but I'm not saying there's I mean, I'm not saying there's a way to sleep your way to the middle or the top, but back in the day there were certainly people that were favorites because they were sleeping with the right people. I was stupid. I was sleeping with the writer. I married the writer. They can't do anything for you. It's already written. Yeah, they have no power whatsoever.
The good news is that you can look at it in retrospect and laugh about it and say, look where we are now, because you have come through, not just been through, remarkably interesting situations that, again, would have broken most people. Let's be very blunt, Claudia. And this is not your usual fare. It's a sort of a bad novel. With this novel, this script, make it to a movie. I don't know about that.
Well, I may have survived, but I had a huge chunk of my life taken from alcohol use disorder as a result of
so that's
trauma.
going to be our segue into that. Now, I must tell everybody, we have sponsors that love our show. We wouldn't have them on if we didn't think they're worthy of your time. And we'd like you to think about it. We're going to come right back and talk to Claudia about.
Hello, skincare connoisseurs. If you think you have tried everything in skincare, you are going to love what I am about to tell you. I'm pharmacist Benjamin I. Fuchs. I'm a dermatology pharmacist, And what I've discovered in my compounding pharmacy after decades of working with patients with skin traumas and skin diseases is the missing link in skincare is topical essential nutrition. And because of this missing link, we're not maximizing the potential of topical skincare. We're leaving skin beauty and skin health on the table. And that's why I formulated my Truth Treatments. Listen, the skin's an organ. It needs and wants and craves nutrients, vitamins, minerals, amino acids, fatty acids, and plant-derived minerals, and now it can get them in super high concentrations in my Truth Treatments. Originally formulated for dermatologists and their patients, now they're available to you. Check them out today at truthtreatments.com, and I know you are going to love the truth.
Her name is Claudia Christian, and she has been talking to us about what it means to be a starlet in Hollywood of another time in a place. And now she's going to talk to us about what really did control her life. And it wasn't her ability to just say, hey, I'm a great actress, I have a great voice, and you should hire me, et cetera, et cetera. There was something else that crept into her very being and took over in a very subtle way, and then on a not so subtle way. So let's just go forward, Claudia, and talk to us about AUD and other aspects of your life that really took a toll upon you.
Well, that would definitely be as my drinking escalated in my late 30s. And I had lived with somebody who was a heavy drinker, two men actually, that were two relationships in a row, heavy drinkers, restaurateurs, people who drank a lot. And I would keep up with them unless I was filming the next morning. Vanity would prohibit me from drinking because I didn't want to be puffy. But on the days that I wasn't filming, I would keep up with them. And for me, it was, you know, when I realized that maybe it was a bit much, I quit. And that was something I didn't realize would cause what's known as the alcohol deprivation effect, something that Dr. John David Sinclair discovered. And what happens is when you have somebody whose brain is now wired to want ethanol, wired to receive that dopamine kick from booze, and then you deprive them of it, the next time they try that substance, they most often, and quite often, lose their off button. They lose complete control. So you've got people who have 40 years of sobriety, you know, and they have a couple beers and they die. They drink themselves to death. You have people who have a year of abstinence and then they figure, oh, well, I don't have a drinking problem. I've been sober for a year, and they start drinking again and it's off to the racetracks. So that's what happened to me. I went from being a sort of, you know, 5 times a week wine drinker to abstinent to a binger. I mean, I had no off button when I resumed drinking after that nearly year of abstinence. I radically changed. So I was a very light drinker, disinterested in my 20s, 30s, really didn't care. And then it escalated and then I stopped. Then suddenly I started again and I could not stop once I started. And that's when my drinking really, really got bad.
I want to jump in.
Yeah.
For full disclosure, I have never been an alcoholic. However, I am an addict. And I was an addict, and I have an addictive personality. I think it's certain people are prone to certain things. I'm an addictive being.
Right.
Right now, my addiction is something so good. You're gonna laugh when I tell you. I'm addicted to swimming.
Oh, that's wonderful.
An hour and a half a day, 6 days a week. Now, for me, it's especially important because I used to be a quadriplegic. So yeah. I can even move anything. I have to wear special devices. I'm addicted to swimming. I think about it. I plan it. It becomes part of my day. And I know that that's what happens in an alcoholic's life. Your world becomes swirling around maybe the next drink or when you're going to. Also is, you mentioned, and this is really critical for everybody listening, because we have a worldwide audience, and let's be blunt, too many millions of people are addicted to drink. That's it.
Almost 4 million a year die needlessly. Needlessly.
That's good. That's the point. We're going to get into that. Needlessly. You were with people who were drinkers. And when you're in that environment, subtly, very subtly, sotto voce, the voice is saying, well, I don't mind being here. And as they're drinking, you're drinking. Hey, if they can handle it, I can handle it. You know, I'm smart, I'm beautiful, I'm kept, all the positive things. And yet when the monster comes,
oh, it changes radically. I mean, first of all, if you have addiction in your background, you have probably a 40% or more chance of developing alcohol use disorder if you drink before your brain is fully developed. And I drank alcohol. I was in a European household. We had tastes of wine. My mother is first, you know, she was an immigrant. So, you know, this was normal for kids to have a little watered down wine and stuff. So I did have alcohol before my brain was fully developed. And I do have alcohol use disorder in my background, in my family. So I really didn't stand a chance, you know, and it develops. So what happens is you have the genetic predisposition, you engage in the behavior before your brain is fully developed. And eventually your neural pathways engorge to the point where now they're supersized highways and they're craving that substance, that alcohol. And that's when you start to get into trouble. So it goes from like, oh, well, I used to just drink a few glasses of wine a night to why am I drinking but even when other people stop. So it gets ugly quickly. And
I want everybody to know, again, don't write anything down, just experience, lean in. It's called AUD, alcohol use disorder.
That's because people believe that alcoholism is a little bit too narrow-roaded, and calling someone an alcoholic just screams of punitive, judgy, shame-filled things. I actually use all the terms all the time for different situations because I understand that most people understand alcoholism, alcoholic, but the thing about alcohol use disorder can spread through many different variations of people who are misusing alcohol. You don't have to identify as an alcoholic to get a medication to decrease your drinking. You don't have to identify as an alcoholic to get help to decrease or stop drinking. If you've gained weight, you want to lose weight, you want to feel better, you're going through menopause, you don't want to be hungover. Any reason, you don't have to say, I'm an alcoholic. You don't even have to say, I have a drinking problem. You just have to say, I'd like to reduce drinking for my health or for my sanity or for my relationship or whatever reason you have. And I think when you just say alcoholism or alcoholic, it puts everybody in a situation where they have to identify as that. And that's just not true. There are people on the spectrum that are just heavy drinkers, but not dependent, all the way to people who are physically dependent and cannot function and will withdraw and possibly stroke out and die. So you have a big spectrum there. You have people who just drink daily and they have a bad habit of drinking a bottle a night, but they're not alcoholics.
A bottle a night?
A bottle a night. I remember going to my doctor. This is an interesting story, Barry. I went to my doctor in 2009 when I found this method that I used for my alcohol misuse. So 2009, I go to my doctor and I say, listen, I've used this medication that I illegally ordered online from India, and it works unbelievably well for me. I'm now a normal drinker again, but I'm running out of the medication. Can I get a prescription? And he said to me, how much did you drink? And I said, I was drinking, you know, bottles, sometimes more a night. And he said, oh, don't worry about that. Let me check your liver. And I said, no, you're going to check my liver and it's going to be fine because I'm not drinking like that anymore because of this pill. He insisted on a liver scan. The liver scan comes back healthy. And he said, just cut down. Don't worry about it. I said, no, I need the medication to stop the cravings. You don't understand. And he said, well, then you can't drink. Because he said, this is he didn't even know what it was. He had to look it up in a black book. And I'm like, this is one of the most pervasive problems in society, alcohol misuse. And it costs America alone billions and billions and billions of dollars in lost work days, you know, productivity, insurance, car accidents, violence, abuse, hospital stays, burns.
Wait a minute.
Sorry.
It's like the devil reading off of a scroll.
Oh, I know. No, I mean, do you know there's an entire burn unit in Texas that is there mostly because of people who have accidents while they're drinking? They burn themselves while they're drinking. So back to the doctor. So I said, well, why don't you look this up? Because I'm sure you have clients who drink too much. He refused me the prescription. I had to go to 3 doctors to get this FDA approved since 1994, approved for alcoholism. Okay. I had to go to 3 doctors to finally get a prescription for this legal FDA approved medication that will help people stop or reduce drinking. Okay. Talk about insanity, Barry.
Okay. Right. The reason that I am so joyful that Claudia's here today is because she's one of the most capable people on the planet to communicate regarding an issue that does affect most everybody on the planet, because either you are or know someone who is misusing alcohol. By the way, even in societies where alcohol is outlawed, in Muslim countries, you can't. Oh yeah, well there are a lot of people misusing alcohol. Now I'm going to tell you the name of this. Again, it's in the show notes. Don't write anything down. It's called naltrexone, and it's spelled N as in Nancy, ALTREXONE. But what I want to do is I want to mention 2 things here that are very wonderful for everybody. Again, don't take any notes. It's in the show notes. Everybody should watch the TEDx talk that Claudia did. It's riveting. It's fabulous. It's authentic because it's true. And then we're going to talk about the little pill, the one little pill. We're going to talk about that in just a moment. I want to mention something that I found so powerful in your TEDx talk that touched me deeply because I can relate to it. I was as an addict. You were mentioning that you were living in, I think, in Hollywood or in the Hollywood area, and you drove by a particular billboard on a regular basis. Now, we're talking about billboards. We're not talking about things that are, 3 feet by 2 feet. Billboards, 40 feet by 60 feet. And the billboard has either a big bottle of wine or a glass of wine. But it was a glass of alcohol. And just driving by that billboard triggered you
to want to drink when I was sober. Yeah.
And it was only because of this remarkable medicine, again, FDA approved, those days you had to get from India and such like that, that allowed your brain to say, okay, it's a billboard. In other words, to be able to go from something that triggered and said, I need and want that, and your whole being is grabbing for it as you're holding on to the car wheel to, okay.
Think about that. It literally undoes addiction in the brain. It literally rewires your brain, shrinks your neural pathways back down, and suddenly you don't give a fig about that glass of wine. I literally looked at it and said, oh, there's a billboard. And I did have to pull over and cry. I mean, I was weeping because years and years, my brain was hijacked. For years and years, when I was sober, I was thinking about the fact that I couldn't drink, I couldn't socialize, I couldn't go to this party, I can't see that person because she drinks, I can't do this, I can't do that, I can't. And then when I was in drink mode, it was all about how am I going to get it? How am I going to hide it? Where am I going to drink it? Right. How much am I going to drink? How am I going to recover? What do I have to do tomorrow? I mean, my brain was filled, whether I was sober or drinking, it was filled with alcohol. And the 3 to 4 months after starting the Sinclair Method, which is targeted use of naltrexone, I was suddenly free. My brain was free. It was empty and it was able to function I had Claudia back. I mean, I was back, and I was so overwhelmed at that moment because I was normal again. I was just me.
We have one word for that. One word for that. You ready? Joy.
Joy. Oh, beyond joy. Honestly, and I know this is going to sound wacky, Barry, but I believe addiction is the devil. I believe that it is demons. I believe it is the darkest. People ask, what is the most miserable thing in life? And people talk about being unhoused and all this. I have to say, after experiencing, being financially insecure and other things in my life and death and murder and abuse and all that, I have to say addiction is the most insidious, darkest, most evil thing I've ever experienced in my life.
I want to, again, don't take any notes. There's a movie that I want to recommend, and recommend in the sense that it's very powerful. It's called The Days of Wine and Roses.
Oh God. Yeah. Yeah, but see, but see, that was when Marty Mann, the PR, the publicist, for AA, was just telling everybody to use Alcoholics Anonymous in TV and film. She even lobbied Screen Actors Guild and the Writers Guild and the Producers Guild. And that's put us back 100 years. I mean, listen, I'm all for peer support meetings. Peer support meetings are great, but that's what AA is. It is not a medical or science-based treatment for a science-based disease of the brain. The American Medical Association in 1956 diagnosed alcoholism as a chronic disorder of the brain. So you cannot treat that with meetings about talking about alcohol. I'm sorry. It may help people, and that's great, and I wish them well.
It's a help. It's a help in transition.
It's a tool. It's a tool, but there are other tools that are far more effective. And things. I mean, don't get me wrong. You have to do the internal work in order to fully recover. The Sinclair Method is a tool. You have to have a combination toolkit. You have to have cognitive behavioral therapy, maybe, or peer support meetings, or AA meetings to go to, which I wish AA would accept people who use medications to reduce or stop drinking. Hello, let's get up to date here.
That was a call out to AA. Thank you. I have a question that has been burning for me.
Yes.
We're going to talk about the Sinclair Method in a little bit of depth. Will this same procedure work for other issues such as
gambling,
pornography, gambling, pervasive,
yes,
difficult problems?
Yes, they're doing studies for. We know that it works for gambling. We anecdotally, I can tell you that I've worked with some clients that had cocaine issues and online pornography addiction, and that it reduced all three: the alcohol, the cocaine, and the porn. But once again, usually those are linked, because you start. It's like the cigarettes with the booze. You start with the booze, and then you do a little coke, and then you go online and watch porn. So if you can block the reinforcement from the alcohol, then it does have a residual effect for other activities. They were also doing studies to use these opiate antagonists on eating disorders and other drug use, like meth. They were doing studies in South Africa, I believe, on methamphetamines. But right now, it's the biggest ones are alcohol and gambling that it's really effective for. And naloxone, which is the other sister drug of this group of drugs. Naloxone is used to bring people out of overdose. That's the medication that brings people out of opiate overdose. So these are critical drugs that we should be offering to people who are suffering. It's ridiculous that it's not more widely known, but I also blame medical schools because they don't give doctors enough, medical students enough education about addiction. They literally tell them still to this day, oh, just tell people to go to a 12-step meeting. I'm like, that's not treatment. That's a peer support meeting. It's not treatment.
Okay, Claudia, I have to say these words to you. You ready?
Calm down. No.
Thank God for Claudia.
I get a little excited, Barry. I'm sorry. I mean, I've devoted literally 15 years of my life to talking about this.
Begin talking about TSM, the Sinclair Method. We're going to go to a break in just about a minute, but let's use this next minute to begin the process of Dr. Sinclair, TSM, and you.
So Dr. Sinclair, thank God, was using a bunch of rats in a Skinner box and noticed that he could give them this opiate antagonist, and they would stop pushing the lever for alcohol over time, and they started pushing it for water or food. So that led him to understand the alcohol deprivation effect and also how to use opiate antagonists to reduce or stop drinking. And they used it in Finland for many, many years. So jump cut to me suffering. I get a little flyer at a medical detox place for something called Vivitrol. And I looked it up and I went, what the heck is that? It's a shot. It's very expensive. But I Googled the ingredient and I found out it's naltrexone. I thought, well, why can't I just use naltrexone? Little bit further digging and a book pops up called The Cure for Alcoholism. And I thought, oh, that's just BS. The Cure for Alcoholism. There's
yeah, come on.
Yeah. But it was by Dr. Roy Escapa, and I read the free chapter and I was hooked because I come from a family of you know, a lot of doctors and scientists. So I said, this makes sense. And that's when I began my journey. And I started asking doctors who refused me the prescription, and I ordered my medication illegally and not necessary. Anybody listening to this program, it is not necessary to do what I did in 2009. There are providers worldwide that will help you. But I did it.
On that high note, we're going to go to a break. Remember, these are people that love us. We love them. We wouldn't have them on. More Claudia and the Cure for Alcoholism right after this. Opportunity. What an opportunity. I'm going to use 2 4-letter words right now. Free gift. Free gift. Yes. You can have a copy of my best-selling book, The Joy of Living, How to Slay Stress and Be Happy, the ebook version for absolutely free. All you have to do is send an email to me, Barry, B-A-R-R-Y, at barryshore.com, and in the heading, the subject line, just write, free gift. It's as easy as that. This is a life-changing, life-enhancing opportunity. Barry at barryshore.com. You'll be glad you did. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Free gift. Do it now. Take the action. Make it happen right now. Best wishes. Bye. Good day, beautiful, bountiful, beloved immortal beings, and good looking for me. You're good looking. She's always looking for and finding the good. We found good in abundance. Her name is Claudia Christian. Claudia has been telling us about an amazing story about her life, her struggles, the monster, the devil called addiction, in this case, alcoholism, AUD, this alcohol use disorder, and now the idea of a cure. I want to give 2 things, if I may. Joy is our watchword, and joy is a great acronym, Claudia, that stands for Journey of You.
Boy.
Sharing with us. I want to do something for you. I created an acronym for your name during the break. May I share it with you?
Yes, please.
Okay, Claudia, C-L-A-U-D-I-A. Creating loving awareness, unleashing determination, inspiring action.
Oh, I love that, Barry. That's beautiful. I love it. Thank you. That's
I got to
so
tell you
kind.
something also. I love words, and I look at something, and I realize you talked about a predisposition to alcohol, and you said, alcohol use disorder. Let's look at your name, Claudia. C-L-A-U-D-I-A. You have AUD built into
AUD, that's so funny. Yeah, and I, Claudius, one who overcomes, well, in an un-PC term, lameness is the word in the baby book, but one that overcomes, that would be for you. There you go, overcoming quadriplegia.
So tell us about the Sinclair Method and about the idea that one little pill can cure alcoholism. I mean, it's almost too good to be true.
It sounds too good to be true. It is dead simple. And of course, it's not just about popping a pill and waiting an hour, but that is the golden rule. The golden rule with Sinclair Method is, in the case of naltrexone, you would take a 50 milligram tablet, you would wait 1 hour, and then you would mindfully drink alcohol. And over the next few months, you would start noticing that you're reducing drinking. Now, at that point, one would get a coach. Like I realized I never did any of that stuff when I was on it because it didn't exist, but I've created a coaching program, yoursinclairmethod.com, which is filled with coaches from all over the world that will coach you through your TSM journey. Then I realized also that, you know, in doing this, I had to start advocating. After 3-4 months, I had my drinking under control, but I thought, well, this is really awful that nobody knows about it. So I called Ben Bella, the publisher, and I said, what can I do to help you? You know, because Roy's book is out, but what else can I do? And they said, why don't you talk to Roy? So I talked to Dr. Escapa, and he said, why don't you write a book? So I wrote a book called Babylon Confidential, which came out in 2012, about my Hollywood journey and alcohol use disorder, my addiction journey. Well, that wasn't enough either, because most of my sci-fi fans bought it, you know, not maybe people who really needed it. So I thought, okay, what can I do next? So I made a documentary called One Little Pill, and I'm very proud of that. And you can see it for free on my website, which is tsmoptions.org.
And remember, everything's in the show notes.
Yes, tsmoptions.org, and you will see the One Little Pill. You can click on the Get Help link and you can watch One Little Pill for free. It's less than an hour long, and I made this specifically for the loved ones of people who are drinking too much, so that they would understand this method. It has all the science-based information about it, what it does to the brain, how long it takes. It shows real people on the method. And it interviews Dr. Sinclair. He was still alive, so we got to interview him. We got to interview Dr. Escapa. This was shot in London, India. We have the beautiful Dr. Kashama Metri, Dr. Didi. She is an angel. She's in India being interviewed. I went there to try to teach this method. It's a phenomenal documentary made for a peanut, but it's just beautiful. The director, writer,
You
Adam
also have
Schoner.
a nonprofit, don't you?
I have a nonprofit, tsmoptions.org. We rebranded. We used to be C3 Foundation, but it was confusing people because we're not a foundation. We rely on donations, and we are grassroots. I have one employee. My executive director, Jenny Williamson, who does just about everything. And then that's it. And we exist on less than $100,000 a year. If you feel like donating, boy, do we need it.
Again, there's so much going on here. I'd like you to invest a couple of minutes right now and again, tell people what you just said. I want them to understand that really what's happening is that you're ingesting a pill that creates a block.
Okay, I'll tell you exactly. You take the naltrexone, and while you wait the hour, it gets into your bloodstream and brain. It's processed through the stomach, through the liver, and then it's in your bloodstream and brain. You drink alcohol, that releases endorphins. Those endorphins go up to the opioid receptor in the brain. Instead of attaching to it and making the neural pathways even bigger, they bounce off. The endorphins bounce off. So what you're left with, a lot of people will describe it as sort of like, oh, I feel relaxed and the cold beer tastes good, but I'm not getting that 4th of July firecrackers. Yes, but some people do get that reward when they drink. They like their head explodes. I wasn't that type of drinker. I just loved the taste of red wine and became addicted to it. So for me, the red wine still tasted okay. So I was, but I just didn't feel like having more. So I was a really good candidate. For people who don't get that reinforcement that they're used to, the high, the buzz, they can be prone to try to drink through the medication. And in that case, we have to work with them to be more mindful and to really understand the process, because over time, the longer you're on it, the less the medication interferes with those feelings. So let's say you're on it I know a guy who's been on it for 20 years, and now he has his nightly bourbon and he feels absolutely stoned from it. He gets the buzz. So it sits in different parts of the brain and your body gets used to it in a different way. All I can say is it's the only treatment for this. It's the only treatment for alcohol misuse that you're allowed to drink on.
Wait a minute. I want everybody to hear this again. First of all, it works.
It works, and it's the only treatment that you must drink alcohol on in order for the medication to do its job and target the activity. I know it's mind-blowing. So
it's counterintuitive.
Totally counterintuitive to everything we've been taught, which is abstinence only. You can never touch alcohol again. Barry, I had a 19-year-old client who said to me, she said, I've been an alcoholic since I was 14 years old. She said, I can't give it up. I'm 19 years old. What am I, can I have a drink at my wedding? And I looked at her and I said, just do this method and you'll get it under control. And it is a lifetime commitment. So if she had continued to drink, then she would have had to continue to take the medication only when she drank. But this girl at 25 went sober and has been sober for the last 5 years. So who knows? She might drink at her wedding and she will be able to. She'll just pop a naltrexone and wait an hour. So it's really mind-blowing how many different types of drinkers of different ages and how many different people culturally, socioeconomic. This helps. This helps.
This helps.
All of these people.
You're talking about something that affects negatively tens, if not hundreds of millions of people around the planet. Because
Yes.
even if one is not the exact person who is the alcohol abusing being,
The children, the spouse.
right,
Yes.
the sphere around them.
Yeah, what about their work buddies? And you know, Barry, here's the thing is people, I know parents who are mortgaging their house out to send their kid to $80,000 rehab facility, which is ineffective because the kid gets out and now they're in the real world. And what they were in is a fake environment where you're protected from the substance. You're not allowed to see billboards of wine glasses and you're in a closed place. I mean, and yes, the therapy can be helpful, but they need medications. They need to get rid of the cravings because cravings are why you relapse. That's the predominant reason why you relapse.
That's the essence of addiction.
Yes, you start to think about it again and you can't get it out of your mind.
Right. Well, now we can. Thanks
And
to
yeah.
Claudia and Dr. Sinclair and you,
Dr. Escapa, too.
to you for having waded through all the muck and mire and pull out something and say, wait a minute, what is this? And back then when it was illegal to order drugs from India, my gosh, who would even think of doing that?
A desperate person. I was desperate because I knew I would die.
This is so important what Claudia just said. The ability to get to a point where you recognize that you're desperate. That is a point of return, not no return. That's the point of return. Claudia, we love you. That is so wonderful.
Oh, thank you, Barry.
I'm very loath to say the words I'm about to say. We're coming on a close of our time together.
Oh.
I have 3 quick questions for you. You ready?
Yes, I am.
Number 1, will you come back again?
I will come back again. We didn't even talk about World of Warcraft or Halo or Guild Wars or Skyrim.
Number 2, Claudia Christian, you have only 80 seconds to answer this question. What is your most fervent desire?
My most fervent desire is to have a more elevated platform as a performer so that I can spread the word of this life-saving treatment in a more capable, expansive manner. I want to be a bigger name so that I can shout this out to the world. Because if a Brad Pitt or a Ben Affleck, who's identified as alcoholics, would have talked about the Sinclair Method, everyone would know about it now. But I'm just a, mid-level actor. So I don't have that power, but I would like to have that power. So shout it out from the world.
Yeah,
I could let everybody know that this is what saved my life. And please, it's out there. It's an option.
May your desire be fulfilled. Number 3, may I give you a hug in front of 529,717 people around the world. Let me tell you what HUG stands for. You ready?
Okay. Yep.
Heartfelt, unlimited giving.
Oh, thank you.
The count of
Barry.
3. 1, 2, 3. Remember, you're listening to The Joy of Living with your humble host, Barry Shore, and amazing guest, Claudia Christian. I got to tell everybody, this show is not about Claudia, fabulous, amazing person that she is. It's not about Barry Shore, a wonderful guy. This show is about you, Why? Oh, you becoming the best you possible. When you're the best you make the world a better place. You'll build more bridges of happiness, joy, peace, and love. Remember, you tuned in, be consciously and conscientiously, because we talk about the 3 fundamentals of life. You heard it from Claudia. Number 1, life. Your life has purpose. And when you lead a purpose-driven life, number 2 happens, you go mad. MAD stands for make a difference. Number 3, unlock the power and the secrets of everyday words. It's going to be happier, healthy, and wealthier. www. What a wonderful world. Smile. Seeing miracles in life every day. As my 8-year-old niece says, seeing miracles in everyday life. Create the kind of world you want to live in, causing rethinking. Listen to Claudia. Rethinking, enabling all to excel. And use 4-letter words. We love them. Love, life, hope, play, free, give, swim, and tell the world to F you. But remember to add right away, capital N, capital N. Twinkling eyes, smile on your face, point your finger, like, F you, everybody. Capital N, capital N. Where'd you get that? This is the Barry Shore. He had on Claudia. Wait to hear about this. 1 pill, and we can cure the world of alcoholism. And remember to use the 2 most powerful words in the English language 3 times a day from now and the rest of your life. Thank you, thank you, thank you. To harmonize and nurture kindness. Everyone you meet is fighting a battle you know nothing about. Therefore, be kind always. And we're going to leave you with a blessing from Claudia and Barry. And our blessing is, go forth, live exuberantly, spread the seeds of joy, happiness, peace, and love.
Love, always.
Will make a difference. Claudia, don't go away.
Thank you for listening to this episode of the Joy of Living podcast. Now that's another step towards your healthier, happier, and wealthier life. Never hesitate to do good in the world, no matter what the situation. Join us for another upbeat discussion next time at barryshore.com. And be sure to leave a rating and subscribe to the show to get more conversations like this. And remember to share it with your family and friends too. See you on the next episode.